Welcome to another edition of Eye on the Issues. Today we are talking energy, and we're talking with Holly Krutka. She is the Executive Director of the School of Energy Resources at the University of Wyoming. Holly, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me, Mike.
You bet. Holly, energy obviously is a huge deal right now in this country. It really always has been, but more so now than ever before. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on the school there in Wyoming?
Sure. So the School of Energy Resources is housed here at the University of Wyoming. It was started in the early 2000s. Wyoming is a huge energy producing state. We produce more energy per capita than any other state by far. It's not even close. And so the idea behind the School of Energy Resources was to create an entity where you could take some of the revenue from our incredible energy sector here in Wyoming and reinvest it back into that sector right here at the University of Wyoming, which is the state's only four-year research institution.
When it comes to specific majors, how many are there, for example, and give us an example of a couple if you could.
Sure. So we have a really unique model again with at the School of Energy Resources. So we have one undergraduate degree. It's called Energy Resource Management and Development, and then there's two concentrations, Energy and Environmental Systems and Professional Land Management. And but our goal here at the School of Energy Resources in terms of education is really to work with the other units across campus to make sure that any student at the University of Wyoming has access to energy relevant coursework. So we also have an energy minor and it can be tailored. So any student, whether you're in accounting or in engineering, you can focus that energy minor on what your interests are. And so that's very broad based. We also are offering a certificate in carbon capture use and storage. It's the nation's first certificate that is an undergraduate certificate in that space. And then we also have a land administration certificate. And right now, we're also pursuing the creation of a certificate in nuclear energy science. So really, we work across the University of Wyoming to come up with all different options that are focused on energy.
That sounds really exciting. I've got to tell you, so you got the carbon capture certificate. You're
Mhm.
working on one for nuclear. What was the second one you said?
Land administration.
Land administration. Gotcha. Wow. And my next question was going to be, what kind of students is this focus on? You kind of answered the question partly because students across the rest of campus
Yeah.
can actually take energy courses, which I
Yep.
think is a fantastic idea. But in specific, the students that actually take that as the major, the energy, can you paint a little bit of a picture of what kind of students, what kind of careers are they possibly thinking about?
Yeah, for our undergraduate degree, our students graduate, again, they focus on either energy and environmental systems or professional land management. So the first one, which we call EES, those are a good student or a good, if you were in high school and you were trying to decide if we're coming back to the university after being in the workforce and you're trying to decide a degree that might be right for you. One thing you should know about that degree, it's very broad based. So you're going to take science classes, college of business classes, and then you probably want to be someone who likes to be outdoors at least sometimes, because that degree is focused a lot on permitting, air quality samples, water quality, soil samples, working on reclamation, things like that. So it's a very broad-based degree. We like to use the word interdisciplinary, which just means you're taking classes all over campus. And I would say our other concentration, professional land management, that's very similar as well. Very broad-based, but it has a much more legal focus. So those are going to be students who, and landman doesn't only mean someone who is very extroverted. I mean, that's like a common misconception. I think it could also be someone who's interested in running title, and understanding land deals. So these are really the people who are putting together energy projects, and they're being here in Wyoming, they're going to have great opportunities in the state or wherever they choose to go.
And speaking of being in Wyoming, let's talk about the energy industry as a whole. What's your take on the energy? Obviously, you've got coal, you've got gas, you've got plenty of options there. But what's your impression as to how things are going right now statewide?
Well, Wyoming is, I love to say, it is the best place to do energy innovation in the country. We have an incredible energy sector. We also have incredible energy partners. So like we get to work, we're at a university, but we get to work really directly with energy partners, like industry partners. So we're able to do some really big things. We have a lot of challenges. About half our land and two-thirds are minerals or federal minerals. So there's a lot of regulatory focus and permitting work that needs to be done in Wyoming. So those are our challenges. I'd say that's our greatest challenge is the impact of federal policies on energy development. That's our biggest challenge. But I think Wyoming still has really strong advantages. When you think about our coal, it's prolific. Truly, it is 50-foot thick coal seams. You can mine it cheaper than dirt. It's high quality. It's got really low ash, low sulfur. And so one of the things that we're trying to do here at the School of Energy Resources is understand what else can we do with that coal. And there's some really great options for using that coal. And so we've had some great industry partners helping us scale those up. And so just let me give one example out of many would be using Wyoming coal to create asphalt. Asphalt has gotten really expensive. There isn't enough of it. And the reason is because the sticky part, it's called asphalt binder. The sticky part of asphalt is created from feedstock from refineries, but refinery demand or refinery production has been going down, but asphalt demand's going up. So we have this huge feedstock gap. So prices for asphalt have gone up, and sometimes you just can't get it. So we think you can make it from coal. And we have great industry partners. We also have state support. So the state's been willing to fund our research trying to develop these new ways to use Wyoming coal. We have been working with partners in the power sector to look at ways to retrofit their plant to kind of make them regulation proof, since there are regulations around requiring carbon capture. We have part of the School of Energy Resources is the Enhanced Oil Recovery Institute, which is a way, they look at helping small producers in the state to use their CO2 to produce more oil. So I could go on, and I will if you want me to, but I'll pause there because there's almost like an infinite number of opportunities in Wyoming, and we're trying to tackle as many of them as we can.
Absolutely. And I completely understand what you're saying about coal. So what is your impression of the future of coal with the carbon capture, with scrubbers? I mean, are we going to see a possible turnaround and move back in that direction a little bit? I'm sure people in Wyoming would love to see that, but you've got this green energy wave that's trying to cross the country, even though it might not necessarily be the best thing with some wind, especially with what happened in Texas not too many years ago,
Right.
and then you've
Yeah.
solar.
Yeah, we absolutely have to have a balance in our energy sector. There's no question about that. So great question. And I gave up trying to read the future a long time ago. But I think one of the things that has fundamentally changed over the last few years is that it's been really hard to advance new energy technologies because there's just not that much demand growth. And so, like, where do you plug in these new technologies? And the other thing is that's been a little challenging is when you're adding non-dispatchable resources like wind and solar that are weather dependent energy generators, whatever you put on the grid next has got to be able to deal with that. So the current infrastructure is really damaging our existing coal plants to be ramping up and down more than they were designed to do. They can do that, but they were not designed to do that, the nation's fleet. Now, what has changed is that energy demand or electricity demand specifically in the US is going up. And it's flipped the script. I personally did not see that coming. The whole artificial intelligence, growth in energy demand and data centers. And so I think we have a real opportunity. So what my hope is, and I will stop short of calling it a projection, but my hope would be that we can take a pause on retiring some of these coal-fired power plants. They are needed. They're needed today as they are, and innovate new technologies. And there are actually new coal-fired power plant technologies being looked at right now in Wyoming. So we have carbon capture retrofits, which could be helpful to keep our existing fleet operating in states where there's regulatory regimes or commitments to reduce emissions. But there's also new technologies. I mean, at the end of the day, for Wyoming to continue producing coal, we're going to have to find new uses, including new types of plants that can be built and are essentially regulation proof that have to operate for decades. So there's a couple different technologies out there that would meet that criteria. One is being developed by a company called Eight Rivers, and they are looking at two different sites in Wyoming. And essentially, this is a new type of power plant they're developing that has integrated carbon capture, so you don't add anything to it. And that makes the whole process much, much less expensive than kind of bolting things on, which we've been doing to our power plants for decades, right? Like mercury scrubbers and SO2 scrubbers and particulate filters and NOx scrubbers. We've really bolted a lot on. And we're still working on those technologies for CO2 as well. But really, for the next generation of plants, we have to demonstrate that we can have like a new technology, and those are being looked at now in the state too. So that's really exciting as well.
Wow, that's everything you said there is very, very interesting, and let's hope things move in that direction where this new technology is developed to keep these power plants. Because as we know, what's happened in Germany, in
Yeah.
parts of Europe, there, they move away from these fossil fuel plants that are reliable, and they move in a different direction. Then they end up having to do a U-turn and head back.
Yeah, but it is, I mean, once you demolish a plant, and a lot of the ones in the US
Yep.
have been demolished, they're gone. And so I don't think as a state we can count on that. I think we have to keep innovating and coming up with new ways for plants to operate. So yeah, we'll keep
Yeah,
doing that. But yeah,
that's
you're right.
yeah, the bottom line is I think countries need to keep as many options as available and not put anything off to the side.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
so let me ask you this. So for anybody out there that's watching right now and might be interested in your school and applying, what do they need to do? What kind of requirements are there for them to get in to get accepted?
Well, so our requirements are the same as the University of Wyoming. So you would just apply to the university and then choose our degree. And then even if you're not in our degree, I would say hopefully anyone who wants to come to the University of Wyoming, one of the great experiences that you can have here in Wyoming that it's easier for us to do is experiential. Our fancy word is experiential learning. And that can mean everything from like undergraduate research. And we fund students all across the university to do Wyoming specific energy research. So even if you don't come get our degree, or one of our credentials, I think there's going to be opportunities. And it can be on the economic side, it can be in law, it can be in all different engineering disciplines. We have students we've supported in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences and Natural Resources, like over in the Hobbs School of Environment and Natural Resources. There's just a lot of opportunity. So I'd say come to the University of Wyoming and then look for opportunities to do research, other experiential learning. One thing we're really excited about is we offer a summer course where, again, any student interested in energy can go see sites around the state. And because it is Wyoming, we have everything. So you can go see uranium production or coal production, or oil and gas, or wind, or whatever. And so, and like take these concepts you're learning in school off the page and go see them in real life. And our students have really found there's a lot of meaning behind that, and making things seem real and putting really scales of energy development into perspective.
So let me ask you this. Is there anything that you want to talk about in respect to energy that I'm not asking you? Am I missed anything?
Well, how many days do you have?
We can do this many times.
Okay. Yeah, there's so many great things I haven't talked about today, but be happy to follow up. I think
Totally.
there's Wyoming actually, just in terms of energy security, has a lot to offer, and in terms of national security as well. So there's all kinds of minerals that we haven't talked about that are associated with energy, but also other sectors. So like we have a large program on rare earths and critical minerals here at the School of Energy Resources, and there's a lot of projects in the state. And I think there's a lot of different areas where we can contribute. So
Fantastic. Well, we'll definitely do another session on that. And I've got to ask you this one final question. I
okay.
know you haven't lived there that long, but what do you like most about the state of Wyoming?
Well, first of all, Mike, I will tell you, I felt at home the minute I got here. I'm from rural Oklahoma originally, so it just really felt except for being super hot and windy, it's just really cold and windy in Wyoming. The thing I like most is I think the people are very down to earth. I mean, I'm an energy nerd at heart, and you can do it all here, everything, and you can make progress. And I think I love the closeness of the communities. In the energy community, we can, if you have a good idea here in Wyoming, you can make it happen. And then I also have my husband and three amazing kids, and there's nowhere better to raise them than here. They had the kind of childhood I have where you can go out and be outside and play and really explore. So it's just a really special place to be.
Yeah,
But don't everyone move here because it's really cold, really cold.
That's a good point, and it is really cold. Are you a skier by chance?
I like to ski badly.
Okay. To ski badly. Nice. Okay. Well, Holly, thank you so much. So people want to learn more about what's happening in the state of Wyoming, just go to wyliberty.org. Holly, thanks again. I'll be in touch and we'll schedule another one of these.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Thanks.